Hi, and welcome to Seriously Pointless Conversations about Culture, your seriously pointless podcast about all your nerdy and geek things across time and I'm gonna say Pokemon universe. I guess I can get this is the best I can do for today because my brain kind
You
of
could say
fizzled
the
on me.
How about the Galarian region?
The Galarian region? Is that what we're gonna do today, James? All right, across the Galarian region. Does that make you feel better about
It
yourself?
does. It does. I do feel better.
Obviously, I'm your host David, and as you can hear from his dulcet tones in the background, my co-host James is with us today. James, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well.
And we are joined by a very special guest today. You might know him as Five Star Man over on Twitch, or you might have heard him announcing at one of the Cape Championship Wrestling matches at our local wrestling, I guess you would call it wrestling tournament or
Federation.
Federation, their company, WWE type thing. No, copyright, not like that. But we are joined by Asa from Cape Championship Wrestling. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Doing great. So, for anybody that doesn't know you from those, do you want to kind of plug yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I do Twitch kind of intermittently, which we'll get kind of more into that later in the show with one of the news stories. But mostly through Cape Championship Wrestling and then the podcast network that we do with Podzilla 1985.
Mhm.
Typically, you can find me on Nerd Up, which is, we get the weekly news and talk about that. And then I host Pro Wrestling Unscripted, which is a weekly pro wrestling news show as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah. So I actually had the wonderful, a wonderful event that you guys had a while ago. Whenever you guys were first kind of forming up, it was because you guys have had the CCW for what 5-6 years now.
We just had our 5th anniversary show.
That's what I thought
in July.
Because I remember I just started working for the city of Cape about the time. It was a little bit after, and I saw you guys posted one up, and I was like, I'll just go over. I was working that night. I remember I just kind of walked and I stood in kind of the foyer there, just kind of watch you guys. You guys put on a hell of a show. I'll put that right now. I had a good time just sitting there for about 20 minutes to the most I could have there, but it was fun to kind of watch you guys. So, but if anybody hasn't seen your guys' show, you guys actually have a benefit show coming up on the September 25th that's going to be benefiting St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yes.
Do you want to plug that at all?
Absolutely. Thank you. So Saturday, September 25th, it's going to be at the Charleston High School in Charleston, Missouri. It is I believe this is the 8th Ashland McClure Memorial that our booker Jason has done. It's in honor of one of his good friends had a daughter around the same time Jason had his daughter, and she unfortunately passed away due to cancer. And so he's now put on. This is, like I said, this will be the 8th. This, I believe, will be the 4th because we had to miss last year. But this will be the 4th under CCW banner. And the majority of wrestlers come in, they work for free. All of the ticket sales are going towards to St. Jude because that's where she was treated. And he was absolutely blown away by how St. Jude took care of her and her family while she was going through treatment. So I meant to message him and get the actual total. But we've raised thousands of dollars for St. Jude doing this. It's going to be a great show because we've got a lot of Cape people in the area, people who have been working with CCW from the beginning are going to be there. But we also have people coming from St. Louis, which St. Louis has had a hotbed of pro wrestling right now, especially on the independent scene. And also, if you missed the last show, you missed the AEW star Marco Stunt winning the CCW championship again, and he's going to be defending against Brandon Barbwire in the main event. We've got the first ever women's ladder match for the women's championship as well. Yeah. So it's going to be a killer show. It's going to a great cause. So Saturday, the September 25th at the Charleston High School.
Yeah, and if you guys want to try and find up ticket prices for that, you can go to capewrestling.com.
Yes.
Again, that is CAPEWRESTLING.com. I believe the tickets are 12 and 15. I believe that's what they are.
I think,
don't quote me on that. Or is it 15 and 17?
I think it's 14 and 13.
Okay.
I have to double check, but right now, I believe first row was sold out. I think there are still some second row tickets and then available, and then everything else is general admission.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Which
So what's that?
we've run at the Charleston High School before. It's a really cool, like their gymnasiums, like it's a really nice venue. So it'll be, there's really not the general admission is still a good, you're still going to get close and have a good view.
It's not Madison Square Gardens, what you're saying. So you don't,
Yeah,
you don't have to look at the Megatron to see everything. So that's awesome though.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if you guys want to have a good time, go check that out, and hopefully you guys can help raise some money for a wonderful cause. So as is the normal, kind of run of the show, we're gonna get started on what we've been up to this week. So Asa, I'm gonna give you a minute to kind of catch your breath. Let's hear James kind of blow some wind a little bit, because he's good at blowing wind. So
been playing Psychonauts 2 this week, and people who've been watching this show know that I'm a big fan of the original Psychonauts.
yes.
And I went into this with a lot of expectation and some trepidation, because we've been waiting, more than a decade for this
Yeah.
to come out. And we've talked about the many funding tribulations they've had before, but it actually is a really, really good game. Like before, the platforming is a little rough, the combat's kind of rough, and it kind of carries itself on just sheer charm and imagination, but it is a very excellent game.
So have
I've
you
enjoyed myself a lot.
So did you just power through the main story right now, or do you have you done all the optional side stuff, or
I pretty much 100%ed it.
You're a jerk. How do you do this?
I didn't max out the wallet, so I skipped that achievement, but I got everything else.
It's not that hard. You just gotta really blow up everything and anything that's in like any of the levels as you go through and try to refine the figments and stuff.
It's just boring though. So
you gotta get 100%.
I bought all the upgrades. I just didn't get the fill your wallet to capacity achievement.
That's just lazy, like 100%ing right there, James.
It is lazy right there.
It's 99%.
I did 99%. I did all interesting achievements.
That would drive me up the wall, though. If I see it like 99.9, I'll be like, oh! So, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat you are, James. I finished it today while I was watching my 4-month-old. In between naps, I was playing it, and I got through at the very end. So how did you like the ending without spoiling a whole bunch? I just want to know.
I thought it was awesome. I thought the last level of the game with like the little boat ride where you're going through that guy's mind, it rivaled the Milkman conspiracy in terms of epicness. I was very, very happy with it.
Awesome.
I guess it's only been out for a week and a half now, so I shouldn't spoil it yet. But
no, don't spoil it yet. We're definitely gonna hit that in one of the few episodes in the future, in the very near future here.
It is a game easily worth spending full price on. So
absolutely.
You can get the Xbox Live thing for 1 month for $15. So treat yourself and enjoy some games for a month, even if you cancel it.
That's right. Treat yourself. That's
Game Pass, I've said it on just about, even like Pro Wrestling Unscripted, like the shows that it has nothing to do with. Game Pass is absolutely the best deal in gaming. It's insane how great that is.
I feel like if you play one game a month, then you've easily made your money's worth.
Absolutely.
I'm not even talking like a AAA, like even like one indie game on it a month, then you're making your $15. It's a great deal.
So yeah, we're definitely agreed of that. Is Psychonauts 2 is definitely a possibly contender for Game of the Year, James? Maybe.
For me, it is.
I figured as much. It's definitely my top 5, or definitely in top 5 games of the year so far. But
Jack Black sings a song about the 5 senses.
So get this. So Jack Black is in it. Did you know who else is in it, James? You may not know this. Elijah Wood is in this.
I didn't know Elijah Wood was in it.
Yeah, he actually plays he plays the bad guy.
Oh, he's Nick from the mailroom.
Don't spoil it for people.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh man, yeah. So he's Nick. So it's great. And when he sings, I heard it in his voice. I was like, I know that voice. Because I've heard him sing in Lord of the Rings. I'm like, where is this at? Or at least talk and like hear, you watch something for 12 hours, you start to know somebody's voice. So especially the extent of.
One other thing to plug is a new anime started up on the Semil Dub. And I mentioned this to you another day, but I haven't mentioned it on the podcast yet. It's called Life Lessons with Uramichi-san.
Okay.
It is really, really dark. It's about a guy who works as an actor in a children's TV show, and about how
you did tell me about that one.
His life is falling apart, and he says horrible, horrible things on the air, and the children are, talking to him about how terrible he is.
Wow, this looks great.
It's really great.
I'm gonna have to put this on my list. This might be something in between classes, like in between trying to get my homework done, stuff like that. I might take a break and watch an episode or two. But yeah, I'm looking at the cover of the manga, and it's literally like this happy guy, and he's just like, it's got like colorful like rainbows behind it, and that's great. That's just the style I want. I want the dark undertones for him to come out. That'd be good. So. But anyways, so obviously that's what James has been up to. Asa, what have you been absorbing into your life this year that has made you feel happy or sad? Either way.
just to feel alive. Nothing is current, unfortunately. I've fallen back into Red Dead Redemption 2 online
That's all good.
with a bunch of people, so that has been oddly consuming. I did not think I would fall in as hard as I did because I haven't played it since the online launched. So
Okay.
they finally added like a bunch of stuff to actually be able to do. So it's just been it's all been just like hunting and then setting up to trade to do these deliveries and stuff.
You've kind of got your little gang going on in the
Oh
end
yeah,
game.
yeah. We've got the full on the horse time posse. So
Nice.
it's been a little bit of a disaster, but that's been good. This new the latest season of Fortnite's coming to a close, so I was grinding out to get to Toxic Rick because the only reason I signed up for this season was Rick and Superman.
Understandable.
Because
It's okay.
I don't like how because I got hooked the first time when they did the Marvel season. And
Yeah.
there's all these Marvel skins and they were super cool. But I didn't realize that not all of the Marvel skins you could just earn by playing. A bunch of them they got added to the shop and you actually had like spend money on. So I was a little I didn't understand the Fortnite model because I'd been out of it. But then I was like, oh, I get why this is so dangerous. So I signed up for this one because it's like I made sure it's like, okay, Rick is available to earn. You just have to like max out the battle pass essentially. But I did that. That was fine. That was easy enough to do. And then probably the most recent thing that I've been doing has been I don't know if you guys have played much of Death's Door. That was the
no. So I saw this. I was actually I randomly I was working out one day and I threw it up on the screen to watch, and I was watching gameplay. But it looks gorgeous. So
it's beautiful.
Do you play a little like a little raven?
Your little little crow.
Okay, give us a quick little summary of it. Yeah,
it does it in Injustice, just like doing a summary because this is legit. This might be my game of the year so far. Okay. And I know there's a bunch of big heavy hitters coming in this last quarter, but you're this little crow and you're a reaper in this world. The idea of like dying and collecting souls has been essentially bureaucratized. Bureaucracied? I don't know how to say that. But you play as this reaper. You get your assignment. You have to go get this soul, and stuff goes sideways. So you have to. That's where the game leads to. And it's just this little kind of isometric 3D action exploration, very, very light RPG elements. Yeah. People have compared it to Dark Souls, but it's really only in the sense that like there's a hub world that you can then, as you progress, now it's a shortcut essentially.
Yeah.
But you're not like severely punished. So like when you die, you don't lose all of your experience or souls or whatever it is that you collect. But as you defeat enemies and explore, you find more souls that you then upgrade, your strength and dexterity, stuff like that. But it's got so much heart. It's got so much charm. You don't feel punished for exploring because even if it's something you can't really get to right now, you're going to get something to unlock a door or light a torch or hook shot over to something. It's so much fun. Right now I am currently trying to get I have the 100%, but I'm going through again because there's like a joke weapon that you can get at the beginning of the game. Yeah. And there's an achievement for beating the game with only using that as your melee weapon.
That's awesome.
And I'm not like a Metroidvania, like an isometric Metroidvania. Then,
yeah. But it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more guided, like kind of where because I'm very dumb. I'm bad with like Zelda games and like Metroid stuff like that. This is all pretty well. There's like 3 main areas, and exactly when you're supposed to go to to each one. So, but
there's big floating arrows that say go this way. They've got like signs.
Kind of, yeah. Except it's more of just like a, hey, you got to have fire to open this door. And like even at the beginning, they're like, okay, so there's 3. You got to do these 3 things, and there's these 3 areas. And it's just like, oh, well, let me try to go here. Oh, I can't because I have to light this torch. Yeah. So it will not let you progress. But it is it's like I said, it's my game of the year so far. I've been loving it. It's just it's pretty. The soundtrack is incredible.
So that would be fun to check out. It's so James, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the creativity, like the creative direction, kind of reminded me a little bit of kind of Ori and the Blind Forest a little bit. Just the sheer amount of like love and like craft they put into it. It's not the same like side scroller kind of like, you know, jumping all around.
It's more like a cell shaded type art style too.
But it reminds me of that just a little bit, just the amount. So that's the one thing I'm really liking about having to be kind of isolated from people right now is that you notice that like some of these smaller indie studios are kind of getting a chance to shine because the bigger studios aren't able to punch out as much, and so you're getting these wonderful little like indie games like you're saying. Hey, so you're getting, you know, Death's Door, and actually saw another one that's going to be coming out here, I think in 2022. It's called Cult of Lamb. I told James about this last
that one looks really cool.
It looks really fun. So it's these little kind of indie games that I'm just hoping on when that's where our bread and butter comes from. It's kind of like I've got Axiom Verge and 2, all those kind of like stacked up. So but yeah, Death's Door is actually on my Steam wish list. I'm gonna wait a little bit, I think, for the winter sale maybe, or maybe James, somebody wants to get it for me for Christmas. I don't know.
Maybe
it is also on Game Pass. So if you've
it is on Game Pass. I didn't see that pop up.
That's how I've been playing it. Is on. Or wait, no, I lied. It's not. I bought it.
Ow.
I'm thinking Hades.
Ow.
I'm thinking of Hades because
my
Hades got its console release and it's on Game Pass. So I have it downloaded so I can have a second platform that I can't beat it on.
Understandable.
Have you not beaten Hades yet?
No, I'm the one. I'm the last person who hasn't beaten it yet. I've made it to the final fight, and I just,
and it never ends. Even after that final fight, there's more final fights.
Oh yeah, no, I've gotten to the second phase of it once, and I'm just like, it's just bashing my head. And what it is it's the Elysium boss, I think, that I just cannot. There's something about my brain talking to my hands that will not communicate, that I just cannot get. Like, I always have to have that revive ready to go, and it's like I always have to burn at least one death on the stupid Minotaur fight, and it's just
like the big first wall of the game, because like the other bosses you can kind of power through, and he's the first one that I think is actually hard.
Well, there's 2 of them, because there's I cannot remember his name. It's basically the dude with the spear and the Minotaur. Those are the 2, and it's the first dual boss you ever have to deal with, and it's just like it's a giant like skill increase that you're just like, WTF, like where the hell did this come from, kind of thing, you know? It's just like,
the one time I made it to the second phase of the last boss was when I had already run into the Minotaur first, so he was weakened, so I was able to take him out pretty quick, and then like I could focus on Spear Dude, and I finally I was able to make it through without dying. I was like super hyped, and then I made it all the way to the end, and I had no idea what was coming. So and I made it through because that was the first time I made it to that last fight, is the time I made it to the second round. I was like, this is it. This is the one. And then it wasn't. And then it wasn't. And I was just I had to walk away for about a day. Like,
does it sound familiar, James?
It sounds very familiar. I will say, going in with the Divine Dash helps a lot when you're still learning the fights, because you can dodge into all the projectiles. It makes it a lot easier.
We went into, when we did our Hades episode, we went deep into that game. There are charts out there and everything about the best like god tiers.
How to get the best duo boons and how to go for particular boons.
It is, and that's actually part of the game, is getting to all the duo boons and all that stuff. It's part of the prophecy list. And I was just like, good on you guys. If you're going to go and try to do 100% of this, that God bless you and Godspeed is what I say. So,
I think the first time I beat Hades, I had the Dionysus and Zeus duo boon, where you get like the electric smog clouds. like the electric drop
I
clouds.
do like
That was a good
the
one.
fog bomb. That is one of my favorites. So, but yeah. So actually, what I have been up to before we get into the news. So actually, without going into more detail on it, because we already talked about it, I've been playing Psychonauts 2. Actually, finished that up and thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, we're not going to go into that because we already talked about it. But actually, I watched news news of the world. Have you guys seen this? It's on HBO Max. It's got Tom Hanks and her name is Helena Zegler.
Okay.
So it's basically a Western. It's a modern Western. And I'm just plugging this because I thought it was an amazing freaking film. Apparently it came out in late 2019.
Like 2020, yeah.
2020, yeah, late 2020. It's basically Tom Hanks is a widower, and he lives in old Texas, basically right after the Civil War, where Texas tried to, obviously try to secede along with the rest of the South. And this is just after the Civil War happens, and so the Union is down there, and they're all trying to basically keep order down there. And he just goes around and reads newspapers to the war, or to all these different towns, because back then a lot of people didn't read. And so he's just basically a town crier that goes from town to town, and they pay him. But along the way, he basically discovers this girl that had been kidnapped. She's a white girl that had been kidnapped by Indians after her parents had settled on Indian land, and they killed the rest of the family, and they basically brought her in. She's lived with them for like almost 7-8 years, so she's indoctrinated into their society. Well, the Union came back, obviously. They found her with the Indians. They killed the Indians and they took her back, so they're trying to integrate her back in. And it's really kind of an interesting story, basically about him trying to like move on from like his his dead wife a little bit, and never having kids a little bit. It's really good. If you get a chance, watch it. I think I cried a little bit because it was really good, and it definitely I will probably sit down and rewatch this one with my wife. But it's just gorgeously shot. Tom Hanks, of course, is just wonderful in it. But yeah, I will probably say that's probably one of my best movies of the year. Definitely the top 10 movies of the year.
It
So
looks like it got nominated for 4 Academy Awards.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
It didn't actually win any of them, but still getting nominated for 4 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he did an excellent job in it. That's, like I said, even the little girl, she did very well. And like I said, they're very authentic with it. They use I'm trying to remember what the name of the language, the Indian language, the Native American language that they use. It's like Kawaii or something like that. I can't remember. I have to look it up again. But I was looking up. It's actually the actual dialect that they used to speak. They used in the film, which is, I was like, that's awesome. That's authentic, authenticity for you there. So, but yeah, that's what I've been up to. Not a whole other lot because kids and all that jazz. But other than that, let's move right on into the second segment. If you guys don't have anything else you guys want to add, anything else? Nothing else? Okay, nope, good. Okay, so we're gonna move into the news. And James, do you want to pick our first story for the day, or do you want me to go for it?
Yeah, we can start with the first story. So it sounds like Nintendo is about to bring Game Boy and Game Boy Color games to Nintendo Switch Online, which, if people recall, Nintendo Switch Online is Nintendo's online service. It's pretty cheap. It's like $60 a year or something.
It's like nothing.
No, it's like 20. It's 20 a year.
Yeah, it's like 20 a year. It's like nothing.
And they've been slowly bringing in NES and SNES games into their library, and so some things that are big profile games are on there, like their Zelda Link to the Past is on there, but some things like Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, and Super Mario RPG are still missing. But reportedly, they are finally starting to bring some Game Boy Color games in, which would be awesome because there are a lot of very, very good games from the Game Boy Color era.
Absolutely.
In a lot of ways, it was kind of an extension of that Super NES era of just classic, 32-bit games. So
yeah, so right now it's only really a rumor. It's not been confirmed yet, but from what I've gathered is they okay, so I apologize. They had the rumors on a podcast a while ago, and then apparently Nintendo Life corroborated this, and then Eurogamer also confirmed it. But right now Nintendo isn't saying anything because obviously I'm sure they're going to do a Nintendo Direct. And they're going to be like, look at all these games we have, considering the lackluster games they released last Nintendo Direct for...
Oh, honey, no. They're going to do a Direct, and they're going to be like, hey, we're adding Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Play all 4. that come out today, because if they're following that NES and SNES model, they'll put them out. They're not going to be a lot of them.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, here, are you thirsty? Here's a drop of water. You're like, I'm parched.
Mm-hmm.
Feed me.
Well, and it's only going to be the ones that Nintendo fully owns too. So stuff like Super Mario RPG is never going to show up because Square Enix owns half of that game.
You might see Super Mario World, so maybe
Super Mario World, I think, is already on there.
What's the one on Game Boy? It's like Super Mario 2, like
Mario
Legend
Land.
of the Mario Land. I apologize. That's the one I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't remember which one it was, but I knew that one had popped up on like the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. Well, maybe, like I said, maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get to put the original Pokemon on there. Pokemon, I don't know.
Awesome.
I would totally go. I would play that for hours, even though I have the emulator on my computer already. I would totally play that. I'll even admit that. I'm like, I would totally play that on my Switch, dude. Like that's a game changer right there for long like road trips. Down for the count.
If they could give us like, if they're doing Game Boy and Game Boy Color, give us Crystal. Like give us Gold and Silver. Like that would be. I don't think they will because I don't know what the whole like Pokemon company.
Yeah,
I don't know if that. I don't know if that makes sense.
They're first party Nintendo developers. I don't know if Nintendo owns them directly, but they're definitely,
even if they're a subsidiary,
they're deep in bed with Nintendo at this point.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. So let's ask this: so if you could have some top games you would pick from the put out, what would you pick? Let's go with James first because I'll give you a little time.
Oracle Seasons in Time, Minish Cap. The Game Boy Color Zelda games are all pretty much amazing.
Wow, you're just gonna go Zelda on me.
I'm just gonna go Zelda. Yeah,
you're gonna go put your Zelda fanboy on for me. Okay,
you were thinking Zelda too, which is
Seasons
about it.
Seasons and Ages were actually the first Zelda games I ever beat.
Oh wow. See?
So they have because I am not a huge Zelda fan. Like
he was saying that earlier.
I'm not a huge. It's just the whole like every Zelda game that I've played gets, except for like Breath of the Wild, gets to a certain point where it's like it's almost like point and click adventure, obscure item. Like, oh, you have to find this one thing to be able to go to progress and get anywhere. And I don't like stuff like that. Like, let me actually explore. These games are supposed to be about exploration. And if I'm like, oh, sorry, you don't have the right item to complete this dungeon, you actually have to go and do this other one. Like that doesn't do great with me. So for whatever reason, I don't know if maybe they were easier or I was just better at them, Seasons, Ages was the first one that I beat. And then I ended up getting Seasons after to like do the stuff that connected them.
Mm-hmm. And that's cool. I kind of agree that the new games are getting a little obvious. Like the Skyward Sword HD, like they like bold their hints and put them in a different color text. So you can't miss it. It's like, man, if only there was a special fire that you could have for this next room. And it's like, well, thanks.
I love that. I'm like, let me just turn my brain off and
like spoon feed me. Spoon feed me.
Yes. You should pick up the Skyward Sword HD for the Switch. You'd probably enjoy that.
That's what you were saying, so yeah. So unfortunately, I don't have any games that I would want to pick because I've actually never played the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color other than stealing yours, James. Whatever you had on tap was what I played on trips and stuff. So
there's a couple Dragon Ball Z RPGs that were pretty decent for the Game Boy Color.
I mean, I don't know.
This would be fun.
It might have been in that giant file you gave me so many years ago whenever we were younger for the emulators, I think, maybe. And I think I might have gotten a hold of them, but yeah,
if you got a Raspberry Pi, I can scare a memory card with you. But
I'm sure you could. Yes, that's one of the things, yeah. So but yeah, so that's Nintendo's news. Let's see what we got coming up next.
Well,
so
real quick, I'm gonna give a cheap because I actually like did a little list. I was like, let me run through and think of the games like that I actually remember from Game Boy. If you don't, I don't know if you've ever played the Game and Watch Gallery games. Those were
I have not.
No,
I know of them.
I didn't realize Game and Watch was a thing until he showed up on Smash Bros. But
this was like they did like 2 or 3 of them for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. It was just little mini game collections. Some of them were old school Game and Watch games, just kind of like modernized and like they kind of did a little bit of a graphical update. Those were a ton of fun. The one thing though that I would kill for, other than also Wario Land. Wario Land is a must-have.
Okay, is that on there? Because I actually really liked that one. I think James, you had that one, and I played that actually.
I think Chris had that one.
I couldn't remember because actually that was one of the few ones.
That Wario Land, and he might have had Super Bomberman as well.
Because
there were some Bomberman games.
Because that's what got me into WarioWare, which I love WarioWare. It's so random and weird, and just like it feeds my ADD brain perfectly. So.
That new one coming out, I'm gonna have to pick up.
Yeah.
But
What are the games
my
on your list?
my number one, the one thing that I would really want, and I don't think either of them will happen, but give me one of the Yu-Gi-Oh games or the Pokemon trading card game. That is the one that
Okay.
I remember. Like, I don't know if they
Okay.
hold up. I just remember spending so much time playing that Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy Color.
I remember there was a Yu-Gi-Oh one. It was like Forbidden Memories or something. I rented one weekend. That was a lot of fun. I can't remember
Oh
what it was
wow.
called.
That did come out on color. I mean, damn, I didn't think it in '98. Yeah,
Mhm.
I wonder if it has all the old ones too. Man, yeah. So now I can have a computer, kick my butt in Pokemon as well as James, like you did in the back. Hey, you know what? I didn't have any of the good cards, man. I just had my Charizard and my Machoke, and that was it. And
I mean, you had Charizard though. I mean,
no, that was.
that was the card for the first edition of
Did I have
Pokemon.
Charizard? I don't remember. I know Jackie still Jackie has all of her old Pokemon cards here at the house, and I was looking at it. I'm like, man, I'm like, these are probably some of these are worth like hundreds of dollars now, and I'm looking it up, and
No.
I'm like, no, they're like 2 cents and like
Mhm.
5 cents maybe. And I'm just
If
like,
they're meant first editions, some of them are worth some money, but
yeah,
it's
no,
just not worth what it used to be.
they've been sitting in a sleeve of a book sleeve for God knows how long, and I'm sure they probably smell funny, so no one will want to go for it. So, is anything else on that, or are we gonna move on to the next one,
No,
guys?
those were the two that I wanted to hit.
I will agree with that. So here's a little something that's going to be more inside of Asa's kind of wheelhouse. So Twitch recently had a boycott that was forces from my email response from streaming platform. This is from off a Game Rant. So a real quick blurb on this: the recent hate raid controversy that has plagued many Twitch content creators, particularly those in the LGBTQ plus community, has seen many streamers and those in the overall user base call on the platform to implement measures to prevent such abuse in the future. With many not satisfied with the way that the company has handled the fiasco, a recent digital walkout took place in protest, which resulted in Twitch seeing a significant drop in interaction on September 1st. However, it looks as though the streaming site is ready to do something about it, according to the recent mass email. So, from what I've gathered, I haven't been on Twitch in a while. I'm sorry, Asa, but,
I haven't either.
that's it. What little time I have, I try to support. I got another buddy that's on there as well. He likes to stream a lot of Call of Duty stuff, and every once in a while I get on there. But if you get on some of these other side, like other like bigger Twitch streamers and stuff like that, they'll sometimes people will just drop in and just it's kind of devolving a little bit. I've noticed. You hope for the best, and sometimes you get the worst. But what has been your experience, Asa? Like, have you had a lot of positivity, a lot of negativity? What have you mostly been getting out of from like your community, I guess?
I mean, for the most part, for me particularly, like I said, I haven't streamed, and it's been since like July, because I streamed when I played Death's Door for the first time, and that's really been the last time, because it's really just a hobby for me. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not consistent enough. So pretty much the only people who pop into my streams are either people that I actually like know in real life, or it'd be like other people from the Kind of Funny community, because there's a pretty good community of like supporting each other there. But I'm also, and this was really before the hate raids really took off, and I'm also not in the demographic at all of the people who are typically being targeted with
Mhm.
these. These are it's mostly minorities, it's Black content creators, people within the LGBTQ community, and especially since Twitch finally added the LGBTQ tags,
Mhm.
that's basically painted a bullseye on a lot of these content creators, and it's not like big ones either. It's smaller
Smaller ones, yeah.
smaller people who don't have a bunch of mods, and Twitch has thoroughly embarrassingly dropped the ball with
I
this.
believe it.
They first put out, once it really became because the problem is bots are getting their own account, and you can verify multiple accounts through the same email,
Mhm.
which seems like a very basic thing you could turn off, but here we are.
Yeah.
But so it's people are creating these bot farms that are spamming. So people are, they're doing their stream, and all of a sudden you'll see, oh, this person is raiding with a party of 50 to 100 tons of users that are all bots, and they
Yeah.
spam the chat with the most grotesque slurs and abusive stuff. But it's gotten worse. Some people have talked about some of these bot names are their actual address.
See, that's
People are
jacked up.
people are starting to
Wow.
get doxxed with it, and they're filling the chat with their address, and they're, the auto mod you can set to where certain letter combinations you can't use, but they're using now. I don't remember what it's called.
Pictures of your address or something.
Pictures are doing it, but also like ASCII, ASCII.
Yeah.
They're using things like that to make it spell out the words that aren't getting picked up by the auto detect.
Throw an Enya in there or something and make it technically a different word, but
throwing in an extra I or an extra G into a word makes it bypass those auto detect tools. Twitch initially put out a statement on August 11th saying like, hey, we know this is going on. This is terrible. We're doing what we can, but they're not doing anything. They went radio silent. They didn't say anything until they sent out an email on September 3rd. And a lot of that is just like, hey, we know this is happening and this is breaking our terms, but we don't really have anything to tell you right now. And part of it is it's because they even mentioned, like, I have this email pulled up. We know it's frustrating that we can't share more details about what we're working on. The individuals who are targeting marginalized creators are highly motivated. The more information we offer about what we're doing to stop them, the easier it becomes for them to navigate around those plans. And that makes sense. Like, I understand that. But then they follow it up with like, hey, here's some things you can do. And these are all things that, like, if you spend any amount of time online within other Twitch communities, like social media, they're all things that the community themselves have been forced to come up with. Like, okay, well, now I have to
basic stuff.
Now, okay, we'll turn on subscriber only mode, turn on emote only mode, which now you have to do even when you're offline, because even if you're not online and these raids happen, you're still responsible for what happens in your chat. So people are spamming these terrible slurs and all this stuff, and then reporting the accounts that are hosting the chats. So now even when you're offline, you have to like make sure that you can't, you're vulnerable.
So they're not just ruining your day; they're also trying to get your account banned.
That's which is ridiculous because, you know, like you said, you know, like even like say something like Asa, like it's just a hobby of his, and say maybe you randomly you're off for a month at a time, and then randomly you get an email that say, hey, your account's been banned because of you know sexist or racist comments. You're just like, what the hell are you like? I haven't streamed in like a month. You're like, what the hell? So I totally understand exactly where you're coming from, and some of these people, it's just a hobby, or maybe it's just a way for them to interact with people because maybe they don't like going out into public, because of maybe possibly this virus that's going on, and they don't want to. This is the only way they can interact with people. Hypothetically, maybe that's a thing, right, guys? But it's a way that like it just pisses me off a little bit. I'm gonna get on my high horse a little bit. It pisses me off a little bit that you go after specifically these smaller creators and these smaller people that are just trying to like put themselves out there. And I don't know how you feel about it, Asa, but it takes a lot for me to like say to get on and try to have a conversation with somebody like live and just like try to enjoy something together, right? And whenever you get on and then all of a sudden somebody comes in and just starts being just aggressively mean, it just ruins your whole day, and you're just like, why the hell do I even want to do this? And on top of it, and I'm just regular white dude, and these are people that are specifically going after them for their color, their skin, and their sexual orientation or whatever it is. And it just boggles my mind, like, why would somebody want to do that? Like, do you have nothing better to do?
No, they do not.
No, they absolutely don't. And they're also, there's also people, because it is, the people like me who are hobbyists, but there are people who this is their income. A living. This is their job, and they basically can't do their job because of they're having to deal with this. And like, I'm someone who I have like one friend who anytime I log on and it's been long enough, he usually subscribes. Like he usually, sends me that money.
$5 your way.
Yeah. So I've had like 1 or 2 subscribers at a time. So if I got into if that were to happen and I went to sub only mode, well, if I had 4 people hanging out watching, well, now I can't communicate with them at all. And it's, whenever it's a sheer number of people, you can't just like, you go through and block every single one of the, series of 6 letters and numbers that are nothing accounts to just,
and then all they do is they make new ones and they write at you all over again. It's kind of it feels futile, and I can kind of see where you're coming from. And I think the biggest problem with Twitch is it's such a large company and it's attached to Amazon now. I think it just takes them so long to do anything.
And this has been a trend.
Well, and
Like,
also, I mean, from a
Oh
developer's
yeah.
point of view, like they don't want to be too heavy-handed in their
Yeah.
response, or else they'll shut down what's good about the
Yeah, well,
platform. Like,
because God forbid,
you
and
know,
I think they go, they're very weird on their rules. It's like 1 minute, like I said, they basically want to make sure they're not going to piss off anybody, and then all of a sudden a First Amendment lawsuit goes against them because of this, and I'm sure that's what they're thinking. Even though people shouldn't be able to do this on a private platform, they should be able to make the rules and do what they want. They're probably afraid that's what's going to happen. I mean, to be honest, right?
well,
I
and
mean,
also, I mean, free-form social interaction is part of what makes the platform fun for a lot of people.
yeah.
And so, if they crack down too hard, then they'll take away what makes the platform fun. If they don't do enough, then people are going to keep having their lives ruined by this whole thing. So,
Yeah.
I would hate to be a developer trying to come up with a solution to this because it's hard to think of something easy.
but
Yeah.
even like small steps, like revoking the whole, okay, I can validate or I can verify multiple accounts through an email,
That would
or
help.
the
Yeah.
option to say, hey, this person wants to raid you. Do you accept?
Yeah, it's
And
literally
like be
just
able
a click button. Like if I know that person, sure, bring them on in. Let's have
and
a good
again,
time.
like I'm not on the production side of things, so I'm sure there is a lot more to it than just flipping a switch to implement something like
Oh
that.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
but the fact that like it's been this long and we have gotten no concrete, and this
Yeah.
also like it's a pattern of Twitch stepping on rakes. Like there
Oh
was
yeah.
the whole, I don't know if you guys followed it all, but like the DMCA stuff that has been happening the last like a few months ago um, was a real big problem for them. They've started to like now there's more and more big streamers moving away from Twitch and moving to either Facebook gaming or YouTube gaming.
Yep.
Now that Mixer's no longer a competition like that, for a while Twitch was the big marketplace, and YouTube and Facebook were not viable options, but both of those platforms have kind of stepped up a little bit and added things, and now they're seeing more and more people. Like I think it was like Tim the Tatman was one of the big Twitch
Yeah.
names that just went to YouTube gaming.
YouTube only. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
saw that.
I never thought I'd see the day when people jump from Twitch to YouTube. That's
Me
crazy.
neither.
I mean,
That's why I said that was a huge acquisition for Amazon. So I think they're gonna, if they don't start turning their ship a little faster, like I said, I think they're gonna see a lot of either streamers leave, and they're going to see a lot of their audience members leave, because the audience members, a lot of them follow their streamers because they find them enjoyable. It's like Co Carnage. I mean, he's got hundred or tens of thousands of people watch him a day, and if he leaves, that's probably tens of thousands of people are going to leave Twitch. You're going to see a significant drop in their daily viewer rates. So, and that's what Amazon lives off. They they live off the viewer rates and the ads they push on there and all the things that people buy from them. So if they don't understand, if they can't understand simple basic human decency, like why they should do these things, they should look at it. Hey, this is going to hurt our bottom dollar. Maybe that's a little bit motivator for them. I don't know.
They
Probably
also
not.
Twitch also takes the biggest cut of subscriptions out of the streaming platforms. So losing someone like Tim the Tatman, like sure they were paying him to for that promotional deal, but they were more than making that money back off of subs and bits and all of that. Now that's a huge revenue source for them that's up in the air.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do in the next few months. Like I said, maybe Twitch will be going the way of Blizzard, James. Maybe we won't see them in a few years.
Maybe we'll see them die a slow death. Yeah.
Yeah, well, all these big companies just stepping on their feet and just falling on their faces. So, but okay, so we're gonna move on to maybe I don't know. Do you want to do a somewhat happier story, or no? There's no more happy stories this week, James. Pick which sad story you want to listen to or talk about.
We can probably just skim through these next few pretty quickly. Next one is that Sony is no longer offering free next-gen upgrades for all of its first-party games.
Yeah.
In the past, if you bought like a PS4 game and then you owned a PS5, you could play the PS5 version.
Yep. Automatic free update
because you own the PS4 version.
Yeah.
Then they kind of went to you can still get free updates, but only some of the more expensive ones. And, they've gotten some criticism for this. They're still offering only $10 for a digital upgrade, which isn't bad.
Yeah, for right now, but I'm seeing that, and hopefully, like in the next year or so, I'm thinking they're probably gonna move away from this, and they're not even gonna have it. It's basically them, slowly kind of saying, "Hey, assholes, buy a PS5." Which I'm thinking to myself, where can I buy one right now? Without paying $800. $800.
So here's the thing. So last year at Christmas, I would have done almost anything for a PS5. Now I haven't been able to get one for almost a year, and now I'm looking at this Xbox Live Game Pass, and I'm thinking maybe I'll buy the Xbox instead.
Well, you won't even have to do that, man. Like if you just want to do the Game Pass,
but I could just play it on the PC. So I mean,
yeah, I was just like, what, what's up with that? I'm saying it's just like, and on top of it, it's like with kind of moving into a little bit of the next story, it's just like they're trying to make the PS5 cheaper, which like they're dropping the price down because they're reducing hardware as well on it. So it's like if they're even if they're going to drop the hardware and make it cheaper and try to make it more accessible, that's still going to be like 2 years or a year and a half before those models start shipping out to everybody. And then it's going to be a lesser model too. So it's kind of like what?
Well, and also, I mean, we've given them a lot of flack for not having consoles on the shelves, but also they've sold way more PS5s than they ever sold PS4s. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
The sales numbers are staggering for just 1 year. And on top of that, with the COVID shutting down China's ports on a regular basis, I know they've struggled to get parts. So
yeah, what do you think about this, Asa?
Yeah, they really bungled this Horizon Forbidden West deal because it wasn't the fact that there wasn't a way to like, people weren't mad that I have to spend $10 to upgrade. It was there was no upgrade. You either had if you bought the PS4 version, the only way to play the PS5 version is to buy the PS5 version, or you have to pay for the digital deluxe or whatever. Like $80 version of it.
They had like 10 different versions of Horizon Forbidden West or whatever it is. And I'm like, so you have to go through, I'm looking at this and I was looking at, so there's literally a list of different versions that you would have to look through to go, do I want that version? Do I want that version? Do I want that version? It's just like, well, just make it simple. Like you shouldn't have to do all that and have to like pick one. Just give me the two versions. Give me the PS4 version and the PS5 version, and that's fine. You don't have to give me an automatic upgrade. Just give me both. That's all you have to do. Which it shouldn't be that hard, right?
You would think that. So this is, I think, to me, we've kind of gone back to the bad era of Sony with the PS3, where they had like the absolute knockout success of PS2. They got cocky. They thought they could do whatever they want, and they couldn't. And I think that's where we're at again. Because if you go back to whenever the Xbox Series and the PS5 were announced, it was, what smart delivery, it's just a buzzword. It doesn't actually mean anything. It's not a big deal. Except now it's like, I started Assassin's Creed Valhalla on my Xbox One. And when I turned on my Series X for the first time and downloaded Valhalla, it knew I was on the Series X version. My save was immediately right there. Done. And then Sony, who first off said, we're not going to, Halo's going to be on both. Yeah, what a rookie move. We believe in generations. We're putting our PS5 games out on the PS5 only. Well, that didn't last. So they went back on that. And now, like, look at Ghost of Tsushima or Miles Morales or Spider-Man. To be able to move your save, you have to have both versions installed on the console at the same time. Then you can import. Then you can delete off the PS4. It's a mess. And then for Horizon, for them to just be like, actually, you have to buy a very specific, like, of the 6 available, 3 will let you get both.
Yeah. In the words of the French, it's a clusterfuck. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. So
and it doesn't make sense because if you're trying to get, we talk about this a lot, or I talk about this a lot. If you're trying to like lock your consumers into like your gaming ecosystem and get them to become a PlayStation gamer or an Xbox gamer, I mean, it's not like these digital things cost you anything once they're made.
No. So it's literally just a file sitting on a server that they can download.
I feel like if someone has paid for one edition, it doesn't really make sense to charge them for a second edition. It's not like there's a physical cartridge or disc involved or something.
No.
If it's like a remaster or something you had to dump more money into, that's different.
Yeah.
But
you mean like, say, like a Diablo 2, possibly, James?
Yeah, but something like that. But these games, they're all developed at the same time, and then they just, set up different versions, to run on each set of hardware. No, now, I mean, I'm all for like the next gen games not necessarily being backwards compatible. I mean, if something won't run on PS4, then don't make it a PS4 game like Cyberpunk 66. But like, don't try and force something on the hardware that just can't run. But it doesn't make sense not to have these paid upgrades. It's just like it's a cash cow move, and I think it's going to
absolutely. So, kind of jumping off that a little bit. Speaking of hardware and continuing the Sony bash. So did you guys see that Sony's new PS5, the new model, like I was saying earlier, they're coming out with it. It actually when some people in Australia and a couple other places, I believe it was in Europe. No, not Europe. I think it was definitely in Australia. I know of. Maybe in Japan, they got some prototypes, but they actually weighed them. They're like, wow. When they got them, they're like, man, these actually feel a little lighter. And so they did what every good console enthusiast and gaming enthusiast does. They're like, they cracked that bad boy open and they looked at it and they saw that the heatsink was something like half the size of the original one. So, and they're like, oh, now we know why it's going to cost less. So, do you guys think this is more of an optimization thing, or you think this is just the Sony trying to be cheaper and kind of make a little extra money?
Well, so I'm not sure if they're just, not sure if they're just trying to get parts where they can get them. Is this a matter of them trying to get more units out on the market, or is this just them saving money? Because I'm looking at the picture, and that's a lot less metal. That has to
and from what I've gathered is when people are looking at it, they haven't tested it yet. It looks like it's still a copper heatsink. Like it's nothing's different about it. It's not a different alloy or anything like that. They don't have any more heat conducting material in there other than our different kind of element in there that can conduct heat a little bit better. They don't have anything different other than it being copper, and it being smaller. So
yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, does it run hotter or not? That's the main thing.
It does.
Yeah, so if it's a significant difference, then I'm mad about it. If it doesn't matter, then I don't care.
The big thing that I saw about it came from GamesBeat and Jeff Grubb, and he had a pretty good article up about it, about how it doesn't make it worse. It's just different. The cooling, it does run a couple degrees hotter, but it's not to the point that it's actually going to cause any sort of performance issues.
Yeah, so I was wondering about that. I think what it'll do, because from what I've gathered, from what little knowledge I do know of kind of like gaming and hardware, is it does run it. I think it's like maybe like 5 or 6 degrees Fahrenheit hotter a little bit. So it's not significant, but over the course of something like a console's lifespan, it can actually degrade it a little faster. It won't be significant. So you're talking like, instead of owning a console for say 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 years, 7 years, maybe even, you might be able to own it for like maybe 4 to 6, maybe. And for some people, I mean, like for like me, I've had my PS4 for 5 years now. And so if something like that were to, like, if they were to come out with another model that has, less, or if this model I have would be, reduced in lifespan, and that, I'm not getting the same amount of money I'm not getting my money's worth. So that's just me personally. And like I said, if it's a significant drop in price, I mean, I would consider it, but yeah, I don't think it will be. That's the thing, is I don't think they're going to keep it the same price point, and they're going to try and get as much money out of it as possible. So all I can suggest to people is try to get a first gen, PS5. That's what I would say.
Yeah, if you're that worried about it, try to get one with the original. This is it's a smaller heatsink. It still uses copper, just less of it, because copper is hard to get right now.
Yep.
So I'm willing to bash Sony, like, and I'll bash Microsoft. Like, I have no problem. I'll bash Nintendo. Like, line them up, and I will find stuff to that point out things because no one I'm getting ahead of myself.
Everyone's doing the same thing.
What are you talking about?
No one company is infallible. I am not I play on PlayStation.
You will not talk dirty. You will not talk bad about our Lord and Savior Microsoft. You leave them alone. I'm joking.
I absolutely will. Come at me, Uncle Phil. But like all 3 major companies do stuff right and they do stuff wrong. And so like, what was I just talking about, the Horizon and them stumbling over that.
Yep.
This is not something I think that Sony is actively like doing wrong. Now that's just from this very beginning level of, data that we've gotten. If it does turn out here in like 2-3 years that these new consoles with the new heat sinks are crapping the bed more than the original ones, then I'll take back everything I said right now. But this just seems like it's blowing out hotter air, but that makes sense because it's a smaller heat sink.
Yeah.
But it's not to the point where like the internals are getting damaged, or affecting performance.
Yeah,
I think this is just
as long as the chips are at a reasonable temperature, it doesn't matter.
yeah. They're just trying to.
It's like my own home PC. Like, could I buy a top of the line water cooler and bring its temp down to like 35 or something?
I mean,
sure,
you should.
I could.
If you were PC Master Race, James, you would.
I mean, but I've got a good air cooling fan. It runs just fine. It's not a problem.
Hey, we're gonna go back to the days where we had like oscillating fans like shoved into our computers. You remember those? We had a couple of those just trying to make them run cooler.
Someone posted a picture of it was a box fan with I think it was a trash bag that they'd cut the end off of.
Yeah.
So that was wrapped around the fan, and then the rest of it was taped onto Xbox One, like like the OG Xbox One. Like, this is my cooling setup. Like, oh no.
I was trying to get this actually just before we got on for this podcast. I was watching an episode of Life of Boris, and he did a mayonnaise powered PC.
That's disgusting. Why would you do that?
Instead of thermal compound for his heatsink and his processor, he used mayonnaise. And actually, it ran better. It ran about 3 degrees cooler than the Arctic 4.
For how long, though, James? For how long?
Well, he only did it for a couple hours, so probably not forever.
If you guys haven't seen like Life of Boris guys out there in podcast land, check him out. He's great. He's a Russian guy that has just crazy adventures and does some amazing recipes. But apparently he cools CPUs with mayonnaise now. So good.
Well, he also did a previous one where he did a vodka cooled PC where he bought a water cooler and filled it with vodka. So.
My man, that's the only way we do things in Russia is we cool PC with a vodka. It's the only way, motherland. So, for our final story tonight, so obviously I don't know if you guys saw, I know James knows from last week whenever China decided they were going to limit the amount of time that I believe it was 16 years and younger children in Japan or in China, they were going to limit their time on games to weekends only for only like 3 hours.
It's like an hour a day, like on the weekends, and then like 1 extra hour for holidays or something.
So the glorious People's Republic will give you 1 extra hour for holidays. Congratulations. So apparently China, since they implemented this, a lot of their servers have crashed for some of their MOBA games, apparently. So
no surprise there. I mean, China is one of the biggest sectors of the gaming market, especially for MOBAs. And everyone logged on at the same time. What they think was going to happen.
I was just like, it's like, did you not see this coming? I mean, what the hell, you know? So what do you think about this, Asa?
I mean, it's not like here. So like, say that kind of law was passed here, and there is that disconnect between the government and the private companies. Yeah. That like, you know, EA isn't just, you know, isn't part of the White House. Like, they don't have to go through the White House to do stuff. That's not the case in China. Like, to start a video game company, you actually have to work with the Chinese government to be able to do that. So there's got to be at least a meeting of people that like would see this coming.
You would think, or maybe Xi Jinping took his hand out of his honey jar for 5 seconds and was just like, "Oh, bother, maybe I need to let these kids have some game time."
I mean, it's also, I think that servers are probably one of the most expensive parts of running a game once you've made a game. And I don't know how fast these companies can actually ramp up their peak server capacity. So, I mean, for them, this might mean that they need a lot more servers to be used a lot less of the time. This might significantly increase their operating overhead.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I was thinking too. You know, if you're gonna have more server farms, you're gonna have to have more people taking care of these things. So maybe they'll create some more jobs, James. Maybe.
Well, but then the problem is like, okay, so say we double our surge capacity for 8 to 9 p.m. on the weekends for Chinese kids. What are these servers doing the rest of the time?
Just sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
I mean, I guess maybe they go back to the Google server pool and they become email servers or something the rest of the year.
Is Google allowed in China? I didn't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I just made that up. I mean,
I think they have their own like search engine and everything too. So I have to look that up. I'd have to look that up because I'm pretty sure they don't like Google. So.
No, anything that's not state run, they aren't super on board with.
That sounds about right. So. But anyways, so that is going to wrap up the news for this week, guys. If you guys think we missed anything, let us know. Email us. Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, all the fun social medias. We will try to get it to next week. If we made any mistakes, let us know as well. I would like to know because we a lot of times we talk out of our asses and it happens. So
I got one question for you guys that I
yeah,
just thought
what's
of.
up?
So I'm sorry I didn't think of this before the show. So I think it's Thursday. We're getting the PlayStation conference, or maybe it's
Yes,
tomorrow. Do you
it's.
have any like predictions or hopes?
Let me look. So I'm really hoping that they show off Thor, or not Thor Ragnarok. Wow, I'm thinking God of War Ragnarok. I just went straight. I just went Chris Hemsworth. He's so dreamy. So I went. I really hope that they show off some gameplay footage for God of War Ragnarok. I really want to see that game. That is
Mhm.
probably the only real reason I want to own a PS5 right now, is because I want to play that game.
Mhm.
I can wait on Horizon Forbidden West and go from there, but I really want to see God of War Ragnarok. James, is there anything, or if you're looking, Asa,
Yeah, I can't think of anything right now. I mean,
what are
I
you
would
looking, what are
just
you hoping for, Asa?
I also am hoping to see some more of God of War because that was my game of the year. Like it's one of my favorite games of all time at this point. I tried to replay it with the PS5 upgrades,
Mm-hmm.
but it was as I was kind of in the process of losing my stepdad, so it like hit way different, and I was just like, I'm gonna revisit this at a later time
Yeah, we're gonna
because I'm
shelve this.
yeah, I'm
Too
not
many
emotionally
emotions.
prepared to take care of this. The one thing that I think is actual like that is possible is I really want to know what Blue Point is working on.
Yeah.
I think this is where they announce that they have officially acquired Blue Point, and we get the reveal. And is it a Metal Gear Solid remake? Will I finally play a Metal Gear game? We'll see.
Have you never played a Metal Gear game?
I have not. I one time I went to lunch with a friend of mine, Ben, and
Mm-hmm.
we sat in Popeyes because he really wanted me to understand his love of Metal Gear. So we sat there for like 45 minutes as he's trying to like lore dump the history of the Metal Gear games. And I'm just like, you
Your
sound like I needed to drive you to the hospital.
your brain is just leaking out of your ear. You're just
Yeah.
like,
None of
well,
this
because I
makes
mean, it
sense.
doesn't make any damn sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're fun
oh,
games. The games are fine, but
oh.
the games are fine, but the lore is a bloody mess. And
So I really got into Metal Gear. So whenever I first started here at Cape City, I didn't have any internet at my in-laws, and Cole actually let me have his old PS1, or his old PS2, and he gave me the Metal Gear Solid collection. So I played all 1, 2, and 3 actually, and I had a blast.
Nice.
I have to say, even though crouching and hiding and killing bad guys is not like my forte, I was like, this is great. I'm like, where are more of these games? And then I went and played Phantom Pain, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? So everyone has different strokes, different folks, but I'm really hoping to see that too. I kind of hope that Blue Point pops out into there, because they've been talking, PlayStation, Sony's been talking to Blue Point for a while. I know that. I just hope that they're able to finally come down with an acquisition number and hopefully get them under the umbrella. So if that's the case, like you said, that means they're probably going to have to bring in back in Kojima, because Metal Gear
Oh, I don't think they
survived
will.
didn't do so good. So they're going to have to bring him back in, I would think. I don't know if they can play nice with him, but
I think Kojima's done with Metal Gear. He's made it pretty clear he didn't want to make those games. It was Konami that was kind of making him. So I think that's the biggest hurdle though, is if Konami's willing to, license out the property.
well, we'll see. Like I said, fingers crossed, and like I said, we will know more. We'll probably end up talking about that next week once it all pops down and comes out. So that, like I said, that wraps up the news. We are going to finally, after an hour of bullshitting, get into our review on Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you guys have forgotten what we're actually going to be reviewing today, that's what we're talking about today. So again, Pokemon, if you guys have not played Pokemon Sword and Shield, where have you guys been, first off? So a quick little synopsis on Pokemon Sword and Shield. It is a 2019 role-playing video game developed by Game Freak and published by the Pokemon Company and Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch, and is one of the first installments in the 8th generation of the Pokemon video game series. So this came shortly after Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, which came out in November 2018. And then they also have released several. I mean, was it two? No, two. Yeah, two
two,
major
yeah.
two
Mhm.
DLCs for it. They've got the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra. And I believe those are the only DLCs they have planned for it, from what I've gathered.
That was my understanding. Is that it? They've been doing some events off and on, but I think that is it for the DLC.
So
the next game is actually coming out pretty soon. So
I'm not gonna put the workload on Asa. I'm gonna put the workload on James. James, do you want a quick summary about what this game is about?
I'll say all about the game. So, like you were saying, it came out in 2019. Interestingly enough, for a Pokemon game, there's a lot of controversy associated with it.
Absolutely.
In particular, it had very poor animation quality in a lot of places. It had a lack of some established features like Mega Evolving and stuff that people were big fans of. And then also, they took out a lot of the Pokemon from the previous generations. I think of the 807 that were Gen 7 and below, only 400 of those made it into the new game.
Took away my beloved Bulbasaur.
They did, and people
started
calling.
You be quiet. It's the tentacles. It's what it does for me. Anyways, go ahead, James.
But people called it Dexit. Lots and lots of people. He also has a special flower on his back. Anyway.
Well, we won't talk about that.
Anyway, lots of people said they were going to boycott the game. It was a great big controversy. The game itself had 81 new Pokemon. It had 31 regional forms called Galarian forms, similar to what they did in the Sun and Moon series. It had Dynamaxing, which is pretty much the new Mega Evolving. And the biggest new feature was the introduction of the Wild area, which is supposed to be this large kind of open world area where you encounter these free roaming Pokemon. And, as the weather changes and as the seasons change, the Pokemon that show up change in those areas.
Yeah. So they put from what I've gathered, they put a lot more like small, tiny little details into this game that were niceties and very fun to play around with. So,
like the Pokemon Ball fan, like that was probably the best little Easter egg of the game.
Yeah.
The guy who gives you a random Pokeball after every gym battle just because he likes them. It's the guy who wears the Pokeball and the hat on his head.
You're just like, what is this? What is this? But yeah. So before we get into what we thought of the game, can I ask? We'll start with Asa. Which one did you get first, Sword or Shield?
I got Sword first.
Okay.
Because I thought the legendary for Shield looked like a dog with his head stuck in a fence. So I went with the Pokemon that looked like a Dark Souls boss.
That's understandable. So, James, which one did you get? Did you?
I got Shield because you told me you were getting Sword. So.
And I did.
And you did. So.
No, I should
not that we ever actually traded or anything, but we still coordinated our game choice.
That's right. Because that's what friends do.
That's
and
right.
then they never do it.
I should have asked you this at the beginning of the podcast to determine whether or not I was going to stay on. Now, when you go through Pokemon games, do you keep your starter all the way through?
Yes.
Generally, yes.
Okay, good. I wouldn't make sure I wasn't, dealing with some sociopaths here.
I also still pick the fire starter because they're the coolest.
Hey, Score Bunny was the shit. Okay.
Score Bunny was the shit. Yeah, especially if you got the one with the special ability in the Crown Tundra expansion. That was bullshit strong on that one.
So I really love it. So let's do this. So obviously we know James and I picked Score Bunny. What was your starter, Asa?
I tend to go with water starters. So I went with my emo lizard that turns into super sexy secret agent.
So yeah, that was my second choice actually when I did my second playthrough. That's who I picked. I actually really like him. I have never gotten around to play the leaf ape. I can't remember, or is he Gorilla Ape? I can't remember.
Rillaboom, yeah.
Rillaboom, okay, yeah. I haven't played him yet. From what I've gathered, he's not the strongest of the three, so he's he's just really tanky from what I've gathered. But
I did like how the Inteleon, his special move is to make a sniper tower.
Yeah. He's just like, pew! He's like, I'm gonna shoot you. That's what it's all about.
But it's a spear gun, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's not. It's
not a gun.
Yeah. That's Nintendo being Nintendo for you. Our Game Freak making it Nintendo friendly. So
got to make it past the Chinese censors.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. So let's start with. Do you guys want to start with the good, or you want to start with the bad of the game? Do you guys want to? Which one do you want to waddle into first?
I think they all kind of mix together.
All mixed together. Okay. Let's ask. So what did you? What was your first take on the game, Asa, when you started playing it? Let's start with that.
So started playing it. I was someone who was kind of bummed out about the return to form because I think we were all, not all, that's not fair. People like me were very spoiled by the idea of Breath of the Wild, of like, hey, we have this franchise that really hasn't changed a whole lot in the 30 years it's been a thing, and now we're turning it on its ear. And like that's something that the Pokemon fans, especially ones like our age who Red and Blue was like, we were that perfect age for it when it hit. We've been wanting to kind of see that evolution forever. So when we realized, okay, we're not getting that, it was kind of an uphill battle. And then, losing out on the Pokemon, like the original Pokemon, like, okay, that's a bummer too. The animation saying it's like, oh wow, like just the turn, like the full right turn with no leg movement stuff.
Yeah, especially because Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu was so good. And it was pretty much, it was Red and Blue in 3D. It was exactly what it was supposed to be. And so I was with you. I was expecting this to be like a big blowout, something awesome.
And it just we didn't get. So I ended up because I wasn't going to buy it. Like I was just going to like, you know what, this doesn't look that different. But I ended up actually getting it for free. So I was like, all right, yeah, well, I'm not going to turn that down. Because it's still Pokemon. It's still comfort food. I did like the wild area. I loved the idea of just before you even get to the first gym, you can have like 30 Pokemon.
Yep.
So you have, there's a ton of variety. There's a ton of being able to like choose who exactly. Now it's like, oh man, there's too many people I want to use. So I having to like cut down to 6 is hard. I played this like I played a lot of the other Pokemon games but I actually got farther in this one than I traditionally do. The only Pokemon games I've beaten are the first 2. I never make it all the way to the end. Yeah, I never make it all the way to the end. Like at a certain point, the grinding, I am not a JRPG fan. And it's because of the grinding. And the grinding just gets to be too repetitive for me. So I made it to I'm assuming we can get into spoilers because the game's like 3 years old.
It's been out for 2 years. You're fine.
I got to the point where I've got the full 8 badges.
Okay.
And now it's, we have to go stop the chairman because he, instead of waiting for 1,000 years for the world to end, he's decided to just try to end it now. Because he thinks the world's going to end. Like that makes no sense.
No.
So I'm at that part of Sword, and then I ended up getting Shield for like super cheap, and I didn't want to completely restart my save on Sword, so I picked up Shield because my favorite part of Pokemon is the first like 3 gyms of that exploring, the initial catching, everything's leveling up pretty quick. So I just beat the first gym on my Shield playthrough. But I haven't played. Like I said, I haven't beaten it, and I haven't played any of the DLCs.
Well, let me ask you this: which one? What was your favorite gym, Asa?
I
know mine. James probably knows mine.
I don't know if I really had a favorite gym because, like, the whole like gym challenge.
Or your gym leader? How about that? Can we say that?
Oh, favorite gym leader. I don't think I play. I liked the design, but I don't think it was in Sword. But the Ghost Kid.
Okay.
Like I like that. I like the ghost.
He's kind of like an emo ghost kid. I think it's what it was.
Yeah. Also, the grass gym, the first gym leader, always makes me laugh because he looks like he's got even like digitally, he looks like he's got the face of a toddler on just like a pro wrestler body.
He's just roided up, and he's like goo goo gaga.
Yeah, he's like I'm gonna use level 10 Rosetta thing, like whatever.
Weird. Mentioning the different gyms, the Sword had a fighting gym and a rock gym, and Shield had the ghost and ice gym in it.
Okay. Yep. My biggest complaint though is voice acting has never been a part of Pokemon, so it makes sense that it's not in this game, and I'm not mad at that. But like, you cannot convince me that they did not originally intend for there to be voice acting. Because why else would there be a cutscene that is a concert?
Yeah.
With and you have to actually manually like skip through the dialogue. That was the most like frustrating part of the game to me. Are you kidding me? Like this is clearly supposed to be a musical concert, and there's no audio to match it.
Well, and that kind of hits what I thought was the most frustrating thing is, to me, it kind of hits that it's like it was designed to be another handheld Pokemon game. And then halfway through, they decided, oh, shit, this has to be on the Switch. We need to make this fit on a big screen TV.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like the way the animations are clunky, the way they don't have voice acting, it feels like a mobile, like Game Boy game. Like all these things would be perfectly acceptable on a handheld title. it doesn't feel like something that's meant to be played on the TV.
All right, Mr. Grouchy, what did you like about the game? Tell me what you liked about the game.
What I like about the game, I like the design of the game. It was gorgeous. The animations were bad, but the scenery was beautiful. Like you said, the wild area is a ton of fun.
Yep.
I did like that you had a bunch of Pokemon available from the beginning.
Yep.
You didn't have to go like, oh gosh, I'm on Route 1. That means I guess I'm going to have 6 Pidgeys on my team.
Hey, you can have a team full of Rattatas, and it's fine, James. It's okay.
You can win the game with that.
You can. It's hard, but you can do it.
It was a fun Pokemon experience. The new Pokemon, especially, I really enjoyed the new ones. Dragapult was probably my new favorite because he was just cool. He's like a catapult ghost dragon thing.
They had a lot of really weird ones on here, didn't they? It's just like. I'm trying to think of some of them that were on there that were just bizarre. Do you know? Can you remember any of them?
There was Dragapult. There was the Ice Moth, like Frost Moth, I think was its name.
What was the one? They had a lot of really weird, like metal ones on here.
There was the Fire Centipede. There was the Metal Dragon.
Love the Fire Centipede. Like that thing is one of my MVPs on my Sword playthrough right now.
Oh yeah. What's the one?
Well, so that's the one problem with me having the fire starters. There was a couple of really cool fire Pokemon. Oh, Toxtricity, that was my new favorite one.
I just picked up Toxel in my Shield playthrough, and I was like, "Oh cool. Yeah, I forgot. I would die for you. You're so adorable, and you turn into such a useful badass. Like hell yeah."
I was sad because I think the Sword version is slightly better. Or I got like the low amp version on my playthrough, and I wanted the high amp version, but oh well.
This is so bizarre. So I'm looking at through them and just to remember which ones are. I totally forgot I had Grimmsnarl on my team. That's how long it's been since I played this. Because I bought it whenever it first came out, and I haven't played it since, unfortunately. And I've been meaning to go back, but I think I'm going to let my nephews borrow it because they just got their Switch. So I think this would be fun for them. So
I enjoyed having some Western influenced Pokemon for once. Like the Farfetch'd evolution, like the Knighted Farfetch was cool. The Galarian Weezing with its like big top hat was super cool.
Here's one that's kind of like, it seems a little bit possibly like Celtish or maybe Welsh. I don't know. Stonjarner. It's literally like two upright rocks and then one right across. It looks like something from like.
It's supposed to look like a Stonehenge, yeah.
Stonehenge, but it sounds like almost Norwegian a little bit the way it sounds.
And I guess for anyone who's never like looked at the map of the game, this is clearly influenced by Britain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It draws heavily on British legends and themes, except when it doesn't. And most of the music is supposedly based on British rock music. And Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale, actually made one of the tracks for the game.
Really?
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Cool pull, James. That's very nice. So is there, I know we kind of blasted through it. So I guess the one thing I will talk about is, how did you guys feel about the ham-fisted cooking thing that they threw in?
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going.
I was initially excited about the camping thing. I mean, I like cooking mini games in general in games, but once you realize that every single thing is exactly the same, it's like, oh, now you need to put your love into it with a poorly timed button press. I mean, it got really old really fast, and
I didn't open it a single time because like it's both a complaint and a plus because I think it's part of why I made it so far through. This is the most handheldy Pokemon game that we've gotten, and in a franchise that has gotten progressively more and more and more handheldy, to the point like every route has at least one trainer that when you beat them, they will heal your team. Mm-hmm. So like I never felt the need to even set up a camp. So I literally just never did. That is something that I forgot to mention because when you were saying like ham-fisted, can we talk about how Hop needs to be ejected into the sun?
Yeah.
And stop being amazed at the type matchups. Yes, I have been kicking your ass with type matchups for weeks now, dude. Like you need to stop. Oh my god,
figure it out. How bad you want to be the best there ever was? You're not going to be the best there ever was because you can't figure out typecast like I can, brah.
Well, and I like how they didn't introduce the weather mechanic until like the very last gym boss.
Yeah,
it's like oh yeah, now that you've beaten the game, here's a core mechanic of competitive play weather.
So that's the other thing that I thought. So that's one of the things I really did like about this, even though the multiplayer was a little it was a little laggy at first. I think from what I've gathered, it's gotten better. But I remember when I first got this, I was playing with some of my buddies from work, and it was fun to like ride around and play with your buddies and go catch things, and then like actually do like team battles and stuff. That's something they haven't really done before, from what I remember. Because the last one I played, I literally picked up Let's Go Eevee, and then I haven't played anything since, I think, Diamond, maybe.
Yeah, the battle raids are fun, and
It's
like
been a while, yeah.
And like the new like raid cave thing in the Crown Tundra is fun too.
That's really fun. Like I said, I kind of hope they do that with the Pokemon like MMO. They're trying to push
Legends of Arceus.
Yeah, but they're trying to push. I really hope they do something like that, because I think it makes it a little bit more enjoyable than just like setting up your team and then just battling against each other. It's like, hey, here's my team. Let's go with your team and let's go all fight some big monstrous bad guy. And I'm like, that's fun. I like that kind of idea. So
Yeah.
I kind of hope they hopefully they slide it in, maybe work it a little bit better, make it a little bit, prettier, I guess is the better word for it. Or maybe it's a little bit more, what's the word I'm thinking for, James? Possibly maybe a little bit more
polished.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Polished.
Well, and that's what this game really needed. I thought was a good coat of polish. Like there was I mean, like you mentioned earlier, the infamous like dog turning around thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the climax of the game. Like you're in the post gym, battle on top of the tower to get the legendary dog, and like during the cutscene, he just like rotates around. He doesn't even like move his legs. He just like. I'm like, wow, this would have been acceptable on like Donkey Kong 64, but I like to think we're past that point now.
We're a little past it,
Or did you notice that the animation for the world stops whenever you're on a ladder, because apparently they couldn't animate ladders and birds flying at the same time?
Yep.
I mean, there are some cringy bad things in there.
It's gotten a lot better from what I've gathered. They've definitely patched it a little bit, but like it kind of goes back to that old adage, is like, do you want to delay it just maybe a few more months and make sure everything's polished and makes it look good? Or are you going to be like, Halo Infinite and put out your multiplayer with only single player campaign where you can't play co-op campaign and with like a few maps? It's like, do you do that? It's like, that's what it feels like almost.
And here's the thing, like at the end of the day, it was still a fun Pokemon experience.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting psyched about the Legends of Arceus game. I'm hoping it's going to be a whole new experience that we were hoping for with this one.
Will you quit WoW, James, and come play it with me?
I'm honestly thinking about quitting WoW anyway, again, but...
You'll quit it for like 4 months, and then your drug dealer Kelly will come back and be like, "Hey James, I got that subscription for you. Hey, can you help me level my mining up? You want to do jewel crafting with me?"
I thought we would quit WoW and start playing Diablo 2 Remastered, but
I will even though I hate Blizzard, that's comfort food for me. I'm not going to probably buy Diablo 4 when it comes out, because Blizzard may not even exist when it comes out, but if it comes out, but I'm going to get it because I love Diablo 2. So
interestingly enough, here with the development thing, we've talked a lot about how we thought it was had this poor animation quality. The other thing that people were complaining about was the lack of Pokemon in general. So like we said before, 807 in the previous generations, for people who haven't played a Pokemon game before, I'm not sure who they are, but most games had a core set of Pokemon during the gameplay, and then afterwards you would unlock this National Dex feature, and then all the other Pokemon from before would show up in different places.
That's a lot of Pokemon.
But yeah, and they cut out 400 of them, and they took out over 100 of the special moves that Pokemon use. Now, they rolled that back a bit during the expansion passes. Yeah. They returned about 200 of those back to the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you feel about it? Personally, I'm not really bothered by it, because it's just decision paralysis. When I'm playing a Pokemon game, I usually play with whatever the new Pokemon are. I know some people get very attached to their old favorites, and they like to even bring forward teams they've had in the past.
What do you feel about it, Asa? Do you feel like it's a good thing to roll it back, or no?
I'm glad that they kind of went back on it a little bit, because it's one of those things where Pokemon has been such a big deal for such a long time that I'm willing to bet that there is at least one person out there, like every single Pokemon is at least one person's favorite.
Oh yeah,
like there is someone who is absolutely enamored with Trubbish. Like, and that's fine. Like, and for whatever reason, like stuff hits for other people. I think the biggest reason that I don't think I would be nearly as mad about it if they hadn't like just recently started the whole like Pokemon Home thing that you actually have to pay for. Yeah. So like if you have a completed Dex in Sun and Moon and you're paying to keep them stored, but it's one of those 200 that you can now not bring with you to Sword and Shield. Like, then what's the point of keeping them? Like, what's the point of paying that money? So I think that's the main reason that I'm perturbed by it. Like, my initial reaction to, and this is also something I've been trying to work on, of just like, my initial reaction was a little intense seeing a lot of this like news, in the build up towards it. So I was like, oh, that's terrible. They're lazy. And it's like, no, it's holy crap. That is 800 different, like,
a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. And like the moves, especially, I don't know if you guys have like paid much attention, like if you guys pay attention to like the competitive Pokemon scene, but
I do a little bit, yeah.
Some of the ways that like the ability, like, or not the abilities, or natures, like the way that some natures match up with certain moves, watching someone blow through the Elite Four using a level 1 something, like, blows my mind that they have figured out a way to like.
Oh yeah, they get the right nature, they get the right EV training, and it's amazing how big of a difference it makes.
Yeah, so getting back on some of the moves, especially with one with dual battles now, and like you were talking about the like max raids where you could be up with like 3 other people and just it could end up breaking the game somehow. Yeah. So I've kind of cut them a little. I've cooled off on my initial reaction to it, but I do think that whole like charging for the Pokemon Home and then not being able to actually like use some of it, I think that is not shady, but it's that sucks.
It feels like go ahead. No, it feels to me whenever they announced that a little bit, that was a little bit after actually I finished the game and I kind of put it down for a little bit and maybe kind of put a little sour taste in my mouth essentially. And I just kind of said to myself, I don't really want to go back to it because it felt like a little bit like a money grab, right? It felt like they're like, hey, we're going to offer this service for you guys, but we're going to charge you. And I'm like, well, what's the need? Like why would you make people, why wouldn't you just, try to gain a little, goodwill throughout your community for kind of putting out this, I would say 80% done game. That's what I feel like it is. Throw a little goodwill, make it free for a few months at the very minimum,
Well, and so, the Pokemon Home thing, it has a free version for only 30 Pokemon.
Exactly.
And it's $16 a year after that to get up to 3,000 Pokemon.
But who's going to put only 30 on there, James?
The people who are using it, it's the people who are using it are the diehards. Like I have a friend.
Yeah, they're keeping their collection of every Pokemon they've ever caught. They're keeping their shiny collection, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I have a friend, Lindsay, who I'm pretty sure she has her same like her original Vaporeon.
Wow.
Jeez.
That like has between like she's figured out a way. If it's not her original one, it is one that she's had forever.
I'm just thinking how many games you'd have to transfer through to get up to Gen 8, because you can't go right from Gen 1 to 8. You have to go like from 1 to 2, and then like you can maybe go from 2 to 4, and then like 4 to 5, and then from 5 you have to go to the old app, and then from the app to 7 maybe.
I think it might be from her. I think it might be from her Heart Gold file.
Okay.
That's called dedication, James. That's called love and dedication. That's exactly what it is. Something, unfortunately, that I have, very little of to give for games nowadays. There's a few of them out there, but not this, unfortunately.
Interesting enough, mentioning love and dedication, a lot of people came out saying that the game was rushed, where they felt that it had somehow been underdeveloped. And I can say they actually started developing the game in 2016, just before Sun and Moon launched. So it started right after the last game. According to interviews, apparently it was a Switch game from the beginning, though the developer Matsuda said that if there was a handheld option, they probably would not have done the Switch. Which as a company, they just prefer developing on handheld.
And that kind of makes me sad that they had the option to possibly do that instead. And it's like, that's why I'm always of the mindset, it's like, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like, I can wait a few more months. Maybe not when I'm 79 and my favorite game is going to be coming out. I don't have a few more months possibly because I'm probably going to have a cardiac arrest at that point because I've, lived a horrible life. Probably smoked a ton of cigars and drank a lot of alcohol. But that's besides the point. But like whenever I'm, I'm still 34. I'll be 34 this year. Like I can wait a few more months. It's okay. And if, like I said, just give it a little time, polish it up, give me a full game. I would prefer that over like what feels like rushed, a rushed game that they're literally just trying to get it out because they're like, we have to have this deadline. And you see this with so many big AAA games nowadays. It's like, and they have this idea in the back of their mind that it's like, oh, we can just patch it. We can just patch it. We can just patch. No, don't do that to me. Give me the full game. I want the full thing. I don't want to have to download an extra patch. Just give me the full game. That would be so much better.
And here's the thing: like this game had 3 years of development, which is
That's about right for the smaller AAA titles, which I would say this is probably not a AAA title.
This is more like a AA.
It's more like a AA. It doesn't have the features I'd expect from a AAA. But their studio is actually really small. Like, apparently Game Freak only has about 200 employees.
Yeah, which is fairly small in the game industry.
Yeah, they contracted with a company called Creatures Inc. to do their modeling, and that was another 100 people. So it was about 300 people total. I mean, there's 1,000 by the time you get all the marketing and public relations and all that bullshit involved.
What were we going to say, Asa? Sorry.
I don't think that this was a rush game. Like, and I don't think that this is one that, I mean, it could obviously, like any game, could use more polish. That's just the nature of video games right now, is the more time that you can do, the better it's going to come out. I genuinely think this was the game that they wanted to put out. They just didn't really, like James read off, like they would have preferred to have done a handheld game. I think that they really had the, like, something like the Switch Lite in mind, something where people are playing this on the go handheld. I don't think they really cared that this was going to be, you know, technically the first console mainline Pokemon game. I just don't. I think that they knew what they wanted to make, and they made that. And ultimately, the products, you could make the argument, suffered for it. But I think that was just, nope, this is what we've done. This is what we're going to continue to do.
And I think you're absolutely right. They developed a handheld game that happens to run on a big TV. And I think if you're playing it in handheld mode on your Switch undocked, you probably would not have noticed most of these things. Because, like I said, a lot of these sins we've talked about, like the very simple battle animations and everything else, would not be a problem on a small screen.
Yeah, but I mean, even for all those faults, you know, it, like I said, moving on to kind of like the, you know, critical reception of it and like the general reception of it, you know, it got fairly well received, you know, considering it was the newest in the series, you know, for the last 4 years essentially.
Well, and by March this year, they've sold 21 million copies, and
so I'm gonna say they did fairly well then.
Well, they beat out Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the fastest selling Switch game. I mean,
yeah.
They,
like
they
I said,
did, they did great on sales.
But they were going to boycott it. No one was going to buy this game.
No one boycotted it.
Yeah, not a single person.
Pokemon fans are hypocrites. I mean, it's like a Zelda fan telling you they're not going to buy the latest Zelda game. I mean, there are people who were foaming at the mouth, and they were just blowing smoke on it.
It's kind of like us. I hate to say it. It's kind of like us in Diablo 2. We're like, Blizzard's a bad company, but I'm going to get that Diablo 2 when it comes out. You know, Blizzard's bad. Diablo's so good, though. I want to play my Pally. I want to play my Pally so bad.
If it makes you feel any better, a lot of the developers like have asked people like, "Hey, we understand where your heart's coming from, but like, don't boycott because that's actually gonna like, you know, it's there." This is the part where I talked about being, you know, super radical left. Yeah. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism, so I mean, you got to kind of pick and choose. You know, you do what you feel is right. So like, I'm not going to fault anyone for continuing to like buy a Blizzard product or an Activate, like the new. I'm probably, like, for me personally, I'm probably not going to buy the new Call of Duty this year. One, like, which this is easier for me because one, I don't care about the World War II setting into Halo's coming out, and that's going to be my online multiplayer shooter, you know, itch scratch.
You shut up, James. I don't want to hear it. Okay, there are those in the room that we're gonna frag the shit out of people, and I'm gonna rocket jump like a motherfucker. So there you go.
You know what? You buy the Halo game. I'll come to your house and I'll sword you in the back a few times.
I don't have to. It's gonna be on Game Pass. That's free.
It's free, James. See, there you go.
I can play it on my PC. That's different. Okay.
Yeah, you can. It's all good. Yeah, you can play with it, and you can sword people, and you can scream like a little girl after we like try to somebody snipes you from across the map, James. That's all that matters.
You know what? I was actually pretty good at the sniper on Halo 2.
You were actually, so and I
think I was good. I wasn't as good as Alex, but he was insane. So
that man played way too much Halo when we were kids. So that's between him and Sam, we had an issue. So
the man could snipe missiles out of the air. It was ridiculous. But
yeah. It blew me away. So, well, I guess that kind of wraps up a little bit of our Pokemon Sword and Shield review. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we kind of call it quits for the day? Or
I'd say 80 on Metacritic.
We usually give a Metacritic score.
All right, James. How about this? How many Pikachus out of 10 do you give it?
Oh, that's hard to say.
All right, then.
I'll give it a 7.
You're gonna give it a 7, Asa. How
It
many?
was
Pikachu?
genuinely fun, but it was disappointing to me. I'll give it a 7.
All right, Asa.
I'm going to give it an 8 just because even a lackluster Pokemon game is still a Pokemon game. So, and I can't act like, this one didn't sink its hooks into me and I didn't have a blast playing it. It was just like, I know what you could be. I know what I have in my head, these unrealistic expectations. Like, you could be a 10 out of 10, game of the generation, best game of all time. But that's not what we're going to get. That's not what you're shooting for.
No,
so
absolutely.
You're still going to do, it's Pokemon.
Yeah, it's comfort food. So I'm gonna be the moderate voice here, and I'm gonna go in between you guys at a 7.5 out of 10. That's me. So because I'm the same mind as you guys, it definitely felt good. There was definitely a little bit more they could have polished and made it a little bit more clean, mainstreamed in it, into there. But it was fun overall. It was a nice little comfort food, and it definitely passed a few night times when I had to stay up. So yeah. So, but yeah, that's going to be our review for Pokemon Sword and Shield, guys. Again, like I said, if you guys have any questions, concerns, you can find us over at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. And you can find us on all the social media sites that you want to try and find us on, because we're on anything: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm sure there's a Reddit out there somewhere that I totally forgot we had, but it's out there. So if you want to, like I said, if you have any questions, anything we need to fix, let us know. And Asa, do you want to remind the folks where they can find you at?
Yeah, Twitter and Twitch.com at the 5-star man with the number 5. Podzilla1985.com. It's Podzilla1985 on all the socials. Primarily Facebook is where we I don't do it for PWU because Dalton has an Apple, and I'm convinced that's what's causing his terrible camera delay. But so we don't do PWU live, but they tonight they're doing PZ85 plays over at the Facebook channel. But Podzilla1985.com, Podzilla1985 on any of the Facebook and Twitter, and there is a Reddit that has long since been abandoned because they also started one. They're like, oh cool, we're going to do a Reddit, and it's just like no one's there. So, but hey,
it died the slow death as much as I.
Oh, it was a quick one. It was just like,
I mean, ours was stillborn. It wasn't.
It was like we poked it with a stick, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. And then you can find me. The charity show is a big deal just because that means a lot to everybody involved. Yeah. September 25th, Charleston, Missouri. Tickets available at capewrestling.com. And also a shout out to WrestleMax STL. It's another company I've been doing stuff with. Their next show is actually this coming Sunday. It's over in Jeffersonville, Indiana. So if you're in the Louisville area, check that out. You can find them at Facebook and Twitter, WrestleMax STL. And then there's another show up in St. Louis on October 1st. I believe it's the Friday the 1st. So
busy time. So if you guys are into wrestling and you are in a local Missouri or the central United States, check them out. Like I said, it's not too far away. Everything's about 10 hours away from each other. If you want to have a quick drive, have a weekend getaway, take your missus down there.
I'll even say, even if you're not into wrestling, especially the St. Jude show, because one, it's a charity show. St. Jude is a wonderful organization. But if you're not into wrestling, like a local show is the best. Like I could gush about how amazing pro wrestling is, but if you are a fan but you haven't had a chance to check out a local show, please do. Even if it's not like here in Missouri, like if there's a company of that's out there that's close by, check it out, because you never know, one, who's going to go through, and also you never know who's going to blow up. Like I said, Marco Stunt was the CCW champion before he signed with All Elite Wrestling. We've had Ricochet come through before he was with WWE. Trey Baxter in NXT, formerly Blake Christian. He was with CCW for a while. So it's all these people that you're gonna watch on TV eventually. Like a lot of them are starting in your backyard.
Yeah, that's where they all start at. It's where The Rock started at. It's where Goldberg and all those guys, they start small and they got to work up. It's just like any other job, man. So yeah, but if you guys want to go check out and have a good time, I had a blast the first couple of times I went and saw them when I was working, like I said, and I'm not into wrestling at all. And I had a blast just sitting there watching you guys have, jump around the ring and announce it. It was fun. I just like that, kind of brought back childhood memories a little bit, but yeah. So again, I just want to say thanks to Asa for coming on the podcast tonight. I had a blast with you, man. Like I said, hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely. And James, thanks for sticking around and not yelling at me as much. And you were much less punny tonight. I'm proud of that. You're curtailing it a little bit.
Yeah, it's just harder to do the puns when I'm not like in person. I mean, that's more of a.
Is that what you're saying? Is that
He
you
feeds on your energy.
Yeah, puns are a more intimate thing. You know?
Well, I love it when you get intimate with me, James. But anyways, signing off, guys. If I could talk, I want to thank everybody for coming in and having a good time. Like I said, check out our past catalog of episodes, and we will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Bye. If you're interested in keeping up to date with new episodes on our channel, add us on any of your favorite podcasting apps, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you have questions or concerns, please email us at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback. Thank you for listening to our show.